Hello everybody. Thank you for attending this presentation. I am Nicolas Velázquez, lecturer at the George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs and postdoctoral data scientist at the Institute for Data, Democracy and Politics. Today, I am presenting the social scientific dimensions of a database built by a multidisciplinary team at George Washington, where we have captured 13 months of interactions from nearly 1,000 hate clusters across 6 different social networks. We built this tool as a means to answer questions regarding the differences in social coordination behavior between regulated and non-regulated social networks. It is theoretically inspired in the sociological theories of offline collective action and social movements of authors like Charles Steele, Sidney Tarrow, and Doug McAdam. It also draws from the online insights of the connective action theory of Bennett and Segerberg. Technically, we devised a hate entity search engine that indexes by connectivity and filters by content, the inverse operation of most social network search engines. The database has been running continually since June 2019. It indexes content on 4chan politically incorrect boards, Facebook fan pages, Gap groups, Instagram accounts, Telegram groups, and vContacte clubs. Currently, we have beyond 41 million posts, and among those posts, we have identified 40,000 links across the hate clusters we monitor. We also have 2.6 million links from these hate clusters into other domains. It all began with a single question in early 2019, when Facebook announced it would step up censorship of white supremacist activity. Immediately, white supremacist fan pages in Facebook began to prepare a move towards vContacte, a similar platform where they thought they would be able to continue to live. Our team wanted to measure this migration and its coordination. We quickly found out it was not just a matter of neatly following the path from one former platform into a newer one. Rather, we found a true maze made out of dozens of platforms hosting hateful content, some of which we had never heard from before. Out of the many, we eventually decided to limit our monitoring to the 6 most central platforms in the online hate ecosystem: 4chan, Facebook, Gab, Instagram, Telegram, and vContacte. Because we wanted to study collective accounts while remaining clear of collecting data from individual or personal accounts, we also discarded platforms like Twitter that do not offer collective accounts. But the backend that allows us to monitor migrations also allowed us to ask questions about how content and narratives are distributed across the hate network. For instance, in the lower left, you can see the path we suspect a particular pro-Nazi and racist video made its way across hate clusters in 5 networks, communicating in 3 different languages, Russian, English, and German, in mid-2019. Additionally, by capturing their post, we could also infer how the conversation evolves within each hate cluster, and how it compares to the narrative evolution in nearby nodes. In this example, we measured through LDA topic scores the relative importance of racist topics in COVID-19 related comments across a subsection of the network during the first 3 months of 2020. It turns out that the log of interactions in online grassroots movements is also a unique opportunity to identify basic key behaviors predicted by collective action theory. For instance, the identity activation and bridge building processes that Charles Steele defines of political entrepreneurs, that is, the creation of a co-constitutive identity based in a dichotomy of us versus them, and also the building of connections between organizations with similar goals, is made patently visible by how some hate nodes take to themselves to connect towards others through outbound edges. These edges need a wider social network, reach organizations, and define boundaries. One example of this entrepreneurship is how hate nodes in unregulated platforms like Gap or Telegram react to platform-level on-indexing of certain keywords in regulated platforms like Facebook or VK. This is a form of modulation that platforms like Facebook implement to limit the visibility or searchability of certain contents, including hate speech. This modulation makes it harder for hate clusters to attract new recruits. Thus, their hate peers in an unregulated network, for instance Telegram, will publish ad hoc indexes listing the Facebook unindexed pages. These listings posts will be, in a second step, shared across affected Facebook hate clusters as third-party web content or through anonymized links, thus offering ad hoc indexing. From a computer science perspective, at the end of the day, our network crawling model is very basic, as it simply follows hyperlink first and classifies content later. Technically, the biggest challenge was to parse or interpret the URLs pointing towards the social networks, and then, in a second step, to be able to infer from that URL the rules that allow us to abstract connections towards nodes or towards content hosted by a node. We had to build a graph network out of the dissimilar rules and entities in the 6 monitored social networks, which is much easier said than done. Well, this tool was born to solve a single question. It has evolved into a historical log that has allowed us to test multiple hypotheses. Among the most important of them, it has allowed us to measure the impact of changes in policies and enforcement of those policies within social networks. For instance, it allowed us to answer questions about who is affected by this policy, who reacts in which way by this policy, and how long does the impact of the policy last until the nodes, the hate clusters, learn how to avoid it. Furthermore, this log has allowed us to conduct forensic analysis on suspended accounts, whose data is no longer retrievable through the regular API available to the public. Finally, this is a simple and actionable database. It links simple social scientific concepts with simple but powerful network science representations and topic modeling and machine learning tools. Simple and effective is always good for science. Thank you very much for your attention and your interest in this presentation. I'd be very happy to answer your questions. If you want, you can reach me to the email posted on screen. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.